Next thing we see here is the lower table. Now what's happened here is that we've multiplied out the relationship multiplied by the importance. So 4 sevens are 28, so we've got a weighting here of 28. If we carry on, we've got 4 5s are 20, 4 5s are 20 again. This one here, we've got 2 7s are 14, plus 3 4s are 12, plus 2 3s are 6, making a total of 32. And for this one, we've got, which is what, road noise reduction, again a measurable. If we multiply 4 by 2, we get an 8. So we can see here that not all of these outputs are equally important. They have different weightings. That's fundamentally important to us. So the top being 32 and the lowest being 8. So quite a large difference. We've also got units of measure. I apologise here, it's using pounds and feet and such that, so it could easily be newtons and meters, etc. But we've got some units of measure. Now if we look at car A and we measure its performance, energy to close the door, we find that it's 11 foot-pounds. We find that car B is 9 and car C is 9.5. This means that if we want the energy to close the door to be reducing, our current product is 11, 9, 9.5. So it's not as good as the other two cars from this point of view. And that equates with or agrees with the customer perception that said that our car wasn't as good as the other two, but none of them are terrific. They're not up on the 4s and 5s. So there looks as though there's a need to reduce for our car, or the next version which we're going to design, we need to reduce this energy. Now you can see similar things here. We've got, look at another one, we've got 3 2 2. This is suggesting what do we want that door seal resistance to be increasing. So that's looking pretty good for us, but they're all fairly similar. If we come across here, yes, they're all pretty similar from this point of view, taken on its own. So this gives us a good indication of what the measure of performance is for our current product, how it compares with the competition, the relative importance of each of these, and we're starting now to think about what sort of targets we should use for the future. Okay, so the next thing that you see has changed is that we've got a roof on this so-called house of quality or QFD diagram, and this is called the negative correlation roof, and we can compare any one of these requirements with any other requirement. Now the one we noticed before was that door seal resistance we want to be increasing, whilst energy to close the door we want to be reducing. So if we come up the diagonal from energy to close the door and we come up the door seal resistance the other way, we find that's where they intersect, and we've got a small cross there which is saying that we have a problem. We have a problem in that we want two things from the design for the new product and they're in conflict with each other. Now, one of the biggest problems in design is resolving those conflicts, and we need to think about how we might do that. Again, some answers to that come on later on. A bit further, now we've got more information. We've got technical difficulty. This is comes from a particular car manufacturer, and they decided to put in things like this. If we wanted to improve, and it's 1 to 5 scale, then how difficult might these things be to do? And imputed importance as a percentage. Now you'll bear in mind that I did say this is only part of a much larger QFD diagram, and if you add these up they obviously don't come to 100, but if we had the whole diagram then they would come up, add up to 100. But it gives us at least some idea of the relative importance of these, which again perhaps tied up with these measures up here and how well our product is doing. Over here this is said to be a 10, estimated to be 10% of the importance, and perhaps we can see why. The customer perception wasn't good, our performance is not as good as the competition. It's a relatively high technical difficulty to reduce that energy, but it's seen as being 10% of the overall requirement. Estimated cost, again as a percentage, same sort of thing, fairly, those are quite low, high, medium. And targets here, so this is saying that we want to go from 11 to 7.5. Here we want to go from 12 down to 9, which is kind of interesting because it's said to be fairly important from this manufacturer's point of view, although the performance is generally similar for all the others, or our car and the other competition. Nevertheless, there's a target to reduce that. Here we've got a target of going to 6, which is no change, 3, no change, and 10 here. So we're going to make the car quieter, if you like, and reduce the road noise.